Okay, so we're going to try a demonstration of Curt Herzstark's Multimator, a Astra listing or adding listing machine with an extra calculator built onto the back, which is a design of Curt Herzstark, who also built them himself, about 300 to 400 of them between 1928 and 1936. The first step we're going to do is to put the listing machine to non-printing and make sure that all the registers are clear. So there are 6 registers on the back of the machine, and then there is of course the Astra main register here in the front of the machine. So let's start by making sure that they're all clear by pressing the totalizer button for the Multimator and pulling the lead. So the first register is clear, the second register is clear, third register is clear, fourth register is clear, fifth register is clear, and the sixth register is clear as well. So the entire machine is clear, as is the main register. Now we will put the machine to print and we will start in earnest. So we will do 1, 2, 3, 4 and add that to the first register. Again in the second, again in the third, again in the fourth, again in the fifth, and let's keep the sixth register for a grand total or something. Let's add a second number. Let's add a third number, and let's now add a different number in order to have a difference between the different registers. So let's start with 9876, 8765, 7654, 431. There we go. And so now we have the grand total of all the columns in the main register of the machine. We will now use the non-add key in order to keep anything that we print out of the rear register to be added to the front register. So what we will do is we will do so there are several things we could do. We could try to put the grand total that we have here into register number 6. So what we could do is sum, and then the sum would go into the Multimator register. So there we go. So now that register is empty. Now we could re-add everything we have from the rear registers into the front register. So we can just press the total, 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 total. And we should again have the same 56,165 in the front register, and we do. So what we can do then is to again print the front register. And we have a kind of check of what the machine has done. So that is essentially what it can do. It can add columns over 6 different registers in the back, and the way that actually happens is much more interesting to see than to see what's going on at the front. So I'll take the camera to the back of the machine and you can see what's going on there. So the first thing that you notice is these things here are the registers. And they can be engaged one by one with the calculating machine that is at the back here. And so you see these bars. If I enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 into the machine, you'll see that whatever I do now, the number that is in the register, the setup register of the machine, will go into the multimator. So if I start pulling the crank, you'll see that the first thing that happens is that the register is actually pushed to the front. And so whatever goes into the tie bars of the machine now goes into these bars as well. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when the handle is at its full stroke and the printing hammers have printed, then you see that the registers are now pushed to the front. And as these bars move back up, actually the number gets entered into the register. There you go. Yeah, and then it tabs, but we don't want it to tab. We want to stay on register number 1. So we'll stop the tabbing. And so now if we add 3333, then you'll see it'll do it again. So it'll move down. Once it reaches the end of its stroke, the register will come to the front. And then on the upstroke, it will add the numbers. But of course, the last number is a 9. And so what you will see is that it will trigger a tens carry. And the way that happens is by an elongated tooth on the side of the wheel. It unlatches an extra tooth at the back of the machine here, and you see that these 4 are now actually one position up higher. So they added an extra 1 to the register because of the tens carry. And that is how essentially the register works for adding numbers. If we add another number here, but we press the non-add key, then you see that the bars are operated, but the register doesn't come to the front and nothing gets added to the register. If we press the subtotal key, then you see that as soon as the crank starts moving, the register comes to the front. And since there is nothing in the setup register of the machine, it actually reads out whatever number is in the register, prints it, and then it keeps the register in engagement as the numbers move back up. And so the number goes right back into it. If we press the grand total key, then you'll see that it'll come to the front right away, read the number that is in the register, but then as soon as the bars start moving up, it disengages, and so it stays at 0. And that is essentially the entire concept of the Multimator. It does nothing more than that. It is directly connected to the print bars, so anything that moves into the print bars also moves into the Multimator, which makes it a bit difficult to, for example, subtract, because the Multimator doesn't do that. You can switch the main register of the machine to subtraction, but whatever goes into the print bars gets added into the Multimator. So the only register that can subtract in the machine is actually the front register. And so if you have to make corrections or credit debit calculations or things like that, you really need the front register and not the Multimator. That is only 6 different adding machines added to the back of the Astra calculator.